This awesome looking machine right here is a fiber laser from SFX Laser, and these things specialize in engraving metal. So in this video, we're gonna go all the way from getting it out of its crate to setting it up and engraving a logo. So if you're interested in getting started with fiber lasers or just wanna see how hard or actually how easy this thing is to set up and get going, this video is for you. So my first impression is this thing is built like a tank. This is all solid aluminum. I'm guessing this is some kind of an accessory pouch. We'll look at that later. This is the rotary they sent. Feels like it's actually bolted down right now. I think the rest of this is bolted to the pallet, so I'm gonna get it loose and then we'll get it up on the table. Well, I can tell you right now, this is bigger than what I was picturing. So this is the actual laser head. From what I understand, this is called a galvo laser, meaning it uses mirrors to just point the laser beam wherever it needs, as opposed to a gantry style laser that actually moves the head on an XY axis, kind of like the CNC plasma table. This is the actual power source. Kind of looks like a PC case, but this is where the laser comes from, and it's transferred out the back through this fiber optic cable and then shot down to your parts. There's actually no moving parts over here other than being able to raise and lower this to adjust the focus, as far as I understand. Like I said, this video is an overview about how easy this thing is to get unboxed, what you get, how quickly we can get it set up, and then hopefully I'll do an in-depth video down the road going into a little bit more detail. But right now, if you're new to lasers, I'm new to lasers, so we're gonna see how intimidating this is, or if it's just easy and anyone can do it. Now checking out the pouch here, see what's included with everything. I'm gonna guess this is some kind of protective eyewear, since it is an exposed laser. Wear those to protect your eyes so you're not burning yourself. I believe the laser is invisible, so it probably is a little tricky where you might not be thinking you're actually getting hurt. Some Allen keys, a USB drive it looks like, some wiring, the keys. I think you can actually lock the unit out, and those look like some stops. The USB cable for the computer. This is the hookup for the back of the unit, and then the computer power cable. It's got its own hookup here that looks like it locks. Foot switch. I think this is, you can activate it with this. We'll have to find that out. And then possibly some extra tooling here too. This is their D100 rotary. I'm pretty excited about this because it lets you do round objects. Quickest thing that comes to mind is like a tumbler. We're not gonna mess with this in this video though, just because we're setting this up and kind of learning how to run it. And this is a little bit more advanced. So there'll be a separate video on getting the rotary going. I brought this PC set up from home just to get this thing set up and running. It might be temporary, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll buy one of those little mini PCs like what runs the Fast Cut. But for now, we'll get going, hooking everything up to a Windows PC, which is what I'm pretty sure you have to use. I don't think the software that comes with this runs on a Mac yet. In the packaging, it came with the USB with what I believe contains all the software you need. So once you get that plugged in, we'll open it up, and it says to drag everything to your desktop or to the computer in case there's any malfunctioning from running it off the USB, I guess. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we can start the process of hooking the laser to the computer. So starting off up here is the USB. You can see it's just a standard USB, but it actually has this nice locking hookup here, which feels nice and professional to me. Once you get it lined up and engaged, it's locked on there. Next, it says rotary device. We're not doing that in this video. So after that, we'll do the foot pedal, which I believe you can use for starting the laser. And then finally, down here at the bottom is power. All of these were completely different hookups. I believe this was 3-prong, this was 2-prong, this was 4-prong, and then this was USB, so you really can't put them in the wrong spot. I plugged the laser into power and then just gonna find any empty USB port on the back of the PC. Next step says to twist the emergency stop button. It'll pop out and the indicator light will come on, showing that we've got power. After it's powered on, we want to remove the protective cap that's on the lens and just be careful not to touch the lens. My machine is equipped with a 175 by 175 millimeter. Just by doing that, you can see it's already shooting a red laser across the platform and a little bit on the table. From what I can tell, that red laser is actually coming out of whatever this thing is and not out of the lens yet. In the package, there's a pair of keys. I'm not sure if these are unique to my machine or if this is how they all are, but it says to put the key into the laser on off and turn to on, and we should hear the fans start up. Now there actually is a red laser that is coming out of the laser head. And I think this red line coming from the other thing is an optional alignment laser. So if this is an optional piece, hopefully a little bit later we'll see what it's used for and if it's worth getting. So far, this has all been pretty straightforward. Now we're gonna get to the PC stuff, and I could see this tripping up some people. So we go down here to search is the easiest way I know to, and I already have it here because I've been in there, but if you don't, you can type in device manager right here, and it'll show up right here. I'm not logged in as an administrator, so I'm going to put in my administrator password. Once this pops up, you can see right here, other devices, and we have this USB LMCV4. Mine says 4. In the manual, it says 2, but either way, that's what we want. Right-click it and go to Properties, and then to change the settings, I have to log in as an administrator. You might not have to do that. Once I'm logged in, this update driver will come because there is no driver installed right now. Go to Update Driver. I'm going to browse, and then for starting right here, this is the thumb drive that they provided. You open that up, and it'll be like this. It'll just say EzCad, and you want to go to Driver, and then scroll down, and the one that I found that worked for me was this Windows 10 LMV64. Even though I have Windows 11, this one worked, so I'm selecting this. My first install, I selected this top folder and let it try to pick the driver it wanted, and it did not work. I uninstalled and reinstalled and selected this one, and everything seemed to work, so hopefully it works again this time. I'm gonna hit OK. You'll get this pop-up, and you want to select that you do trust this driver, and Windows has successfully updated your drivers. For starting up EzCad, this is why we copied all those folders to the desktop right here, because you can run EzCad without installing it. And to do that, just open this, go to the EzCad folder. This is where those drivers were. We're gonna go here to EzCad again, and then right here is the actual EzCad folder. So if I wanted to pin that to the taskbar, I can right-click it. I hit more options and go to pin to taskbar. Now we have it right down here. Once we open this up, the machine is actually acting as your license for EzCad 2 and having that correct driver installed. When I first installed this, EzCad 2 opened as a demo version because the driver and the computer weren't connecting correctly. So it let me open the software, but it wasn't recognizing the laser, therefore it didn't recognize that I owned a full copy of EzCad. So the next step it wants us to do is this head is actually shifted forward, I think, for packaging to make it all line up nice. But the head is way far ahead on the center of the platform. So we're gonna be loosening up some screws and trying to slide this whole thing back and center it up. To do that, we wanna find the center here. It says screw one of the Allen bolts that it gave us into the middle. So I'm guessing it's this one, but we're gonna look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah, it's that one. We'll screw that in, and that will mark the middle for us. To loosen this, we wanna just crack all these loose, probably as little as possible, just enough to get it to slide. This is the Allen that came with it. And then you can see it moves. I'm just going to slide this until the red dot is right in the middle. Now to get it actually over in the middle, it's making this line crooked. So I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do here. Okay, we want to get it as close as we can, which is about right there. And then we go back to EzCad. And in EzCad, it says to draw the square the size of our scanning field. So I don't know what that means exactly. I have a 175 by 175 lens on here, so we're going to try to type that in here. I'm going to change the positioning just so I can try to do zeros here. And it'll be from the center. Okay, so there, it's exactly the work area. And then we go down here and select light. And if we come back over here, we can see it emitting that square. Now, it says the x-axis is the most important one, and we want to square it up before we tighten up the screws. All right, so to me, that looks like the x-axis is pretty square. So now I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up my screws. Now, to set the focus, it wants me to put a test piece on here of a known thickness. So I've got my digital calipers here. I'm going to switch it to millimeters and check this piece of aluminum. It's about 1.5 millimeters, 1.55, and that'll be our test piece. Back in EzCad, now we're supposed to make a 10 millimeter square. So I'm just going to use the square we already got, which I think is right on the edge here. Yep. And change it to a 10 by 10. And then we need to set up these hatch settings. Now you can have up to 3 different hatch settings for one part. So we're working on hatch 1, 2, 3. Right now for hatch 1, it says we want 90 degrees. So we'll change the degrees to 90. 0.01 millimeter line distance. Then we're gonna go to hatch 2. Oh, we gotta enable hatch 2. 180 degrees with a 0.01 line distance. I wonder if these are supposed to have the same crosshatch. I'm gonna make them the same. Hatch 2 is enabled, hatch 3 is disabled. Hit OK. You see it filled it in because it's gonna hatch that now, which is just the path the laser is going to take. I think I can zoom in here. See, there's actually laser lines right there. They're very close together because that 0.01, but when you zoom out it looks black, but really it's separate laser paths. Now we're gonna click light and go back to the laser, and we can see it's gonna be marked right on our test piece. I kinda wanna move it to the edge, but that's where it's supposedly gonna hit. Now when we start marking, it's gonna want us to adjust this up and down to set our focus up here. So we need to break this loose because it's locked in right now. And now it should be able to focus. This time when we start the lighting process, we wanna hit the continuous checkbox. That way it'll light it up, and then I can just hit F2 on my keyboard and it'll start marking. And as it's marking, I'm gonna raise and lower the whole head and listen for loudness. And it's gonna be at its loudest point when it's in focus. I really doubt I have to go all the way to the top because I feel like this would be for a thicker part. So I'm gonna start, I'm almost at the top. I'm going to hit mark. It says we're marking. And I'm just gonna start lowering it down. I feel like that's about it right there. I kind of went up and down and you could see it kind of going in and out of how well it's engraving. That red focus line is about right in the middle. So now that I figured out this is a optional focus line, and it shoots a line down there that lines up with the dot and checks focus. Supposedly this was checked at the factory and lined up. It could come out of whack. But if you look at ours, and right here you can see that that dot is right on the focus line. Now this focus line is crooked. I don't know if that matters since that's just a dot and they do line up. I'm scared to mess with it, because I don't know if I really need it to be straight this way, if it all lines up right there. Maybe the reason it's just a line is so you can distinguish the two, since they're both red and one's a dot, one's a line. So I'm just going to leave it because it seems to be set good. But that means I should be able to stick something thicker in here and adjust the head until they line up, and it should be in focus. Okay, next, back in EzCad, I'm going to try to set up an actual logo, because I'm sure that's what you would expect to do. I'm going to go to File, Import Vector File, since the one I have is a vector. If you just have like a PNG or something, I think it can do those too, and that's a bitmap. But my logo is in a vector format. I believe I put it under pictures, and there's no files to match. So allowed files are AI, SVG, DXF, and I believe mine is an EPS. So I need to change the format to one of these. Okay, this time I changed it to a SVG, which is a scalable vector graphic, because I figure that's like the most simplest form of a vector graphic, and there maybe won't be as many compatibility issues. Came up with this weird little logo. How do we place it? Oh, it's huge. Okay, there it is. We're gonna scale this down to 50 by 50. And then since I marked position in the middle, it should center it up if I just type 0 and 0. Okay, now it's a little squished because really it's because my logo is not a perfect square, so I kind of messed that up. I'm gonna undo this, zoom out, find it again. Just gonna drag it down. That way it stays in the right proportions, and I could actually lock it over here. Now I should be able to move this since I turned this little lock on. I'm actually, just by looking at this, I'll make it 70. Right there. So now we need to hatch it, and we're gonna do the same thing we did before. Click on the H up here. Hatch 1, pen 0. I have the frequencies at 48 for pen 0. This crosshatch, I'm gonna do the exact same thing we did before. Hatch 2. Hatch 3 is off. Hit OK. Actually, I take that back. We're gonna up our line distance to 0.05 for hatch 1 and hatch 2. Apparently you have to hit apply after each one of these. And then over here you can mark follow edge once, and that will actually go around it. So if we zoom in, sorry, I'm using a little trackpad here. You can see how the edge is just hatched right up to the edge, but there's no actual line. If we mark follow edge once and hit apply, it'll turn on one pass around the edge. I've been told sometimes this looks good, sometimes it doesn't look as good. So it's just something to play with out of the million settings there are. But we're going with these basic defaults. So now when I hit light, like before, now I actually want to try this one on steel. I know I didn't change any of the parameters from aluminum to steel. And it looks like it barely fits on here, so I'm gonna leave the aluminum in case it spills over. I don't want to be marking on the bed. And then I'm gonna turn off light real quick so we can get our dot. And you can see, it might be hard for you to see, but the dot is just barely on this side of the line. So I'm gonna loosen this and lower, actually raise it up until it's right on. Tighten the adjustment back down. My next step is mark or F2. Now, this looks awesome. It literally looks like a sticker, but there's no getting it off. It's awesome. So, First impressions is this thing is incredible. I can't thank SFX Laser enough for sending me this. If you're interested in checking out their whole line of lasers, you can follow the link down below. It's an Amazon link. It'll help me out too, and that's where they would appreciate you going. They have US stock of these, so it ships locally. And yeah, you don't have to get this big a laser. They have all different sizes, all different price points, but this is incredible. It's opening up a whole world of possibilities in my mind of what I'll be able to do with this thing. Obviously, this is a metal focused channel. This thing's great on metal. So we'll see. But yeah, if you're new to my channel, I hope you stick around and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. We're gonna do more videos on this laser, especially setting up the rotary, and then maybe some more advanced EzCad stuff. We just went over the basics today. But that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.